Earth System Mitigation Science is a team here at the Met Office Hadley Centre, and what we're actually trying to understand is the role of the Earth system in climate change. And by this I mean the interaction between chemistry, biology and the physical processes in the context of human influences on the climate system, whether that be from emissions of carbon dioxide, land use change, aerosols and other ways that humans act to perturb the climate. But it's not all about that. The reason we're trying to do that research is because what we want to do is understand what we can do to mitigate the impacts of climate change on the longer term. And that's both the impacts on us, on our lives we lead, but also how we can then avoid the emissions and therefore limit the amount of climate change. Well, it's really about understanding about how everything operates together, okay? And that's how the chemistry cannot be considered separate from the biology, and that can't be considered separately from the physical processes. They all interact together, okay? And they act then to influence the actual climate we might expect to have in the future, and also the impacts we might see. Now, one example of that is we know that rising CO2 not only warms the planet, but it also is a fertiliser for plants, and plants grow better. Okay, so therefore they will actually take up some of that carbon dioxide, and we may have better growing plants, better crop yields and things as a result of that as well. So really you do have to look at the whole Earth system and look at how everything interacts together. Well, I think we're only really just starting to get to grips with how all these things really interact, and it's hugely complex. Now, up until this point, we tend to focus on things like mitigating carbon dioxide emissions, but as we get closer to the targets we want to achieve, so as we get closer to 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees, it becomes more apparent that we need to consider other greenhouse gases, such as methane, which are really, really important in the short term. So it's not just all about carbon dioxide, it's also about some of these other gases as well. And we're only really starting to get to grips and understand that and understand what we actually need to do if we're going to meet these very tight climate targets. Okay, well, I'm a parent as well, so I have 2 young children and they take up a lot of my time as well. I'm quite lucky that I work flexibly here, so I'm able to spend quite a lot of time at home looking after them, which is important to me. Well, as a climate scientist, I really sort of get to grips and understand our impacts we have on the planet. So, you know, we do make changes into my life and my family as well. But I also see it's quite difficult and hard to do that. But the kind of things we do, we try to look at the food we eat and make sure that we're reducing the food miles that we have. We think about how we travel. We try to reduce flying, but we still fly for holidays. And we generally try to reduce our impact on the planet. But it's really hard to do, and I think that's a challenge for all of us.